What's up, everybody? Bitcoin has crushed $85,000 and Dogecoin is to my right, XRP is to my left. And the common guy out there who bought XRP is probably selling it to chase a coin that has already broken above its downward resistance line. And I'm not here to tell you that's the wrong decision. I'm just here to say that that's definitely not what I'm doing. By the way, the bears, they're getting crushed right now. And I have a picture. I have a picture of the bears. I'm about to show it right now. So here you go. There's the picture of the bulls, and there's the picture of the bears. Oh man, that's, ugh. What? Bitcoin broke out already? Gosh. Freaking idiot. So this message right here is for people who are thinking about selling their altcoin and chasing Bitcoin, Solana, Dogecoin, and any other coin that has gone completely bonkers. I'm not saying that's the wrong thing to do. I'm just saying, for me, it's the best thing in the world is to stay planted, because I've learned my lesson before. You want to stay planted. I know it's painful watching something like this, right? And I don't own Dogecoin, but I trade it and I've made money on it, and I'm not worried about if it goes completely insane, because I know my positions are in a position of strength, and eventually they will match something like Doge. And for example, if it was like all of the market, like every single coin blasting off left and right, except, maybe your XRP or your couple other coins you own, then maybe that could be a different story, right? Because then there's something wrong. But you have to understand, no other, all the cryptos are kind of relatively in the same position. There's only a few outliers, and those are the front runners of the market. And you don't want to necessarily chase those front runners. I mean, unless you already have a position. If you already have a position, then great. And one of the things I was saying with Doge, right, is it's kind of revving up. Woom, 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 woom. You know what I mean? It's got that coiled spring, and it just revs up. And again, every time I say, when we push up, come back, retest, push up, retest, push up, retest, push up, retest, boom. See, you're getting coiled in here, right? And that's no surprise to me that Dogecoin did it. So then it's like, well, why didn't you buy it? Well, because I wasn't sure, right? I'm not for sure confident in it. And the reason I didn't buy it, honestly, is because I don't really, for me, I look at the meme coins as a category, and I have two meme coins, and that's SHIB and BOEM, those two. And maybe they're winners, maybe they're not. SHIB is doing pretty well, but those are my two meme coins. I don't need another one, you know what I mean? So I got two of them, that's enough for me. And I liked them because of where they were in the risk profile. And another reason I didn't buy SHIB was because, look at this. It already had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves, right? So I don't know, as an investor, yes, it can come all the way up into the retracement levels, right? It can come all the way up into the retracement levels. But what then I don't know is it going to have to come back down into reaccumulation before we can actually break out? Like if you look at XRP, for example, I'm going to have to go to another chart. Here we go, the Binance chart. You can see I have 1, 2, 3, and we've been flagging out here for wave 4 for a long time. So that is the equivalent of Dogecoin being right there. So 1, 2, 3, and then it had a 4, and then it had a massive wave 5. So I'm waiting for XRP to have a massive wave 5, right? So yeah, that's the, for me, you know what I mean? So and that's how I base it off of which coins do I want? Do I want a coin that's already put in so much? Not really, even though you could have a hit to the high and break it, right? Easily. But I understand that. And many people don't. And that's why I'm here to say, like, it doesn't have to be XRP. Like, let's say, let's just take Total 3, for example, right? This is the broad sense of the market. Like, look at the difference between, let's go back to the 4-day, and let's go to the 4 days, so it's even. Okay, look at the difference here, right? So at the average market is sort of the average price of the Total 3. And remember, there's stable coins in here, and Tether and USDC, they're printing like crazy. So it's actually, you have to have Total 3 minus altcoins, or minus the stable coins, to get a more accurate reading. It's not even that high. But for example, you know, you see your coin broken out just a little tiny bit, but then you look at Dogecoin, oh my God, it's completely breaking out. So the psychology of that, that's what this is the video today, right? Plus other stuff. The psychology of that is saying, man, I made the wrong decision. I should have bought Dogecoin. Even I feel that. I feel like, oh, I should have bought it. But that doesn't mean I'm going to go and chase it. And I'm not saying you not to do that, but what I'm saying is, you know, let's go back to XRP, for example. The best thing for me to do is to stay planted, because I know, right, if Bitcoin has just barely broken out like a week ago and it's, you know, soaring pretty fast, I know that there's going to be at least a fourth wave and a fifth wave. I know that there's going to be some type of distribution. And I know when you look at altcoins, like here's Bitcoin right here. Like when you look at altcoins in relation to Bitcoin and you look right here, you can see very clearly, right? Bitcoin has already gone. It's going. Fair enough, right? But then Bitcoin starts to top out. It's not going anywhere. It's going sideways. And during that time, that's when you had the rest of the market. Look at those big, fat, beautiful green candles exploding to the upside. Massive, right? That only took 30 days for that to happen. I mean, we were way down here and we just went boom, very fast. Look how long it took Bitcoin to get there. But look how fast it took Theta to get there. Very fast, right? And I'm just Theta as an example. So if we look at what's going on now, right, and you know, and you sort of put Dogecoin on the screen. So here is Bitcoin and Dogecoin by themselves. Okay, now I'm going to take off, I'm going to put Theta on, and you can see, one second, there we go. So Dogecoin's in yellow and Theta is in blue. And look at the difference, right? Look at the difference. So again, if you go back over here, look at the yellow right here. Look at yellow right here. So, wow, that's even later than Theta. So if we put Bitcoin and Theta up at the same exact time, look at this. Bitcoin going in its bull run, boom, 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 and now it's over. It's done. It's completely done. Okay? And look what Theta did, or look what Doge did. It went straight up during this time, instantly. So why is that? Well, that's because Bitcoin moves first. It gets people excited. It makes the headlines. It's basically like a generator. It stores a lot of energy, a lot of liquidity. And when it gets to the top, it sort of disperses that liquidity in a distribution range, and a lot of that rotates back into the altcoins. And that's why we see that. And that's why I'm staying planted in XRP, because it's still cheap. It's only 60 cents, right? So it's painful. Like, well, why isn't XRP blasting off with Dogecoin? Well, then why isn't Chainlink blasting off? Why isn't all these others blasting off? You know what I mean? Because it takes time. You got to be patient. You got to be planted, right? So whatever you're invested in is your business. But if that coin isn't blasting off, you know, while all the other stuff is, then you might have to consider, dealing with that. But right now, we're so early, right? We're so close, but we're so early. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And then you have 1, 2. This is the third wave. It's definitely the third wave. I mean, it's very likely it is. We go up to the third, and then we get 4, and then we get 5. And then what was going to happen is we're going to go sideways in here. So that's probably what it's going to look like. Okay? So during that time, right in here, that's when we should see altcoins really start to move. And we're already seeing evidence of that. You know what I mean? So my main message here is just be patient and be planted. Right? And I can't assure you, but I'm very confident in what I'm holding, and I just know, right? I mean, look at this. We're flagging out. One's broken out, one has not. So why would I want the one that already broken out? It's already built in a lot of percentage points. So this one, it's all about potential. Which one has more potential, right? Do I want the baseball player who, is an old guy, he has experience, he's pretty good, but he's a little rusty, right? Or do I want the young guy who's got the big arms, who's, has the capability of breaking out or hitting grand slams every day, but really hasn't because no one's picked him, right? So, terrible example, I know, but that's kind of how I see it. So anyways, that's basically what I have for today. So now let's jump into some price here, and let's look at a few things. So first of all, XRP is still chilling at about 50-60 cents, but instead of looking at the price, right? Like, I wish we can just, get rid of the price. Like, don't even look at that, right? And just look at the structure in which it's creating, and that'll tell me a lot. So let's start with Bitcoin. We'll move our way back. One of the things with Bitcoin had a same type of look of what Doge had, right? And that's the revving of the machine. So the bad thing about that is you don't know if it's a diagonal or not. So for example, Bitcoin, you're seeing it $85,000 historic move. But how did it get there, right? And why didn't we need to flag out to reset the momentum? Well, because if it was a diag, we would have. But since it's a 1-2-1-2, it kind of, you're revving the engine. So it's like, vroom, 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 vroom. It's a terrible example, but you know what I mean. You know what I mean? It's revving and revving and revving and then go. You know what I mean? So it's sort of like gearing up to go. So that's sort of the shape of it, right? So then you look at something like Dogecoin, and this is education, right? A lot of people want to give you sensationalism now that we've broken out, but for me, I want to give you education so you know what to look for, right? Because yes, people are blinded by dollar signs right now, but you have to look at how we got here so that you can conquer it the next time, right? So again, boom, you're revving, boom. So you have that rev going on. So if you zoom out, right, a little bit here, you can also see more revving. Boom. For example, boom, boom, there we go. You know what I mean? So, this is a 1-2, 1-2, and now we're going into that third wave. So let's see the third wave can get us back to the all-time high, right? And then maybe we flag out a little bit, and then we go up and hit the top for the fifth. So 1-2, 1-2, 3, 4, and then 5, right? So, but if you look, if I take a measurement, right, and I go up to the all-time high, we're about 150% away So, you know, that's pretty good, right? But when I look at, for example, SHIB, you know, SHIB is the one that I've chosen over Doge simply because I don't have 5 waves. I got a massive box in here, consolidation. I got a strong base, right? And I'm not totally overextended, but at the same time, I see really positive signs in here, like a 1-2, right? And then we even have another 1-2, and then hopefully this is the third wave. We can flag out for a 4 and then come up and hit the 5. But if we take a measurement from where we are all the way to the top, I mean, we're well over 200, 225% away from the all-time high. So there's more potential for me for SHIB. That's all I'm saying. It doesn't mean it's the right decision. It just means that's the way I play it, right? So for example, like if you look at Theta, so, you know, when you look at Dogecoin on the right here, and you look at Theta, it's easily understandable why people would get discouraged, right? I mean, look at this monster move and look at, you got nothing here. But I look at that as a beautiful thing, because then I know, well, wait a minute, this one hasn't gone yet, right? Dogecoin moved first, and if Dogecoin can do it, surely Theta can do it sooner rather than later, right? Doesn't mean it's going to do it right now, but you can see a little bit of differences here. Like, for example, you had a 1-2, 1-2, and you sort of stayed in that upward trend. This one seemed more like 3 up and 3 down, and it took that liquidity out, right? So, you know, coming back up here, you know, it doesn't have the best shape like what Dogecoin did, but for me, I'm still looking for 5 waves up, right? So you get 3 up, you get 3 down, and then you want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up, and then you can flag out and then be on your way, right? So, and it's all about too getting lucky, you know, like people who bought Dogecoin didn't know it was going to do this, you know, faster than all the other coins. They just didn't, right? A lot of it has to do with, you know, luck, picking the right one at the right time. But for me, you know, there's no such thing as luck. It's all about, you know, being smart enough to understand. And for me, it's about being diversified in as many coins, or not as many, but the best ones possible, that have the correct setup and that have, you know, the tokenomics, right? Inflation, things like that. So, but yeah, congrats to Doge holders. Very beautiful move here. Let me see if I got the bigger Theta chart, right? And if we zoom out to the 5-day, right, you can see the difference, right? So, you know, when you look at Doge, it has sort of a better looking base in here, right? It's more planted. This one was more like a slanted thing, right? And then, you know, the move up, the move down is the same, right? We back tested in the same area, boom and boom, right? But the reaction we got was a lot more incredible. So I, you know, and you know, you gotta, Elon has to have something to do with it because he's sharing stuff almost every day with the Doge, not necessarily Dogecoin, but like, I know he shares an account called Doge Designer. So all of that is like marketing, right? I mean, think about it. He's got 200+ million followers, and his posts get a lot of interactions, more than anybody on the planet. So if he retweets somebody that has Doge on their profile, I mean, that's a lot of advertising right there. But yeah, I think for me, you know, when you look at it, that's the equivalent of Theta right? Would you buy Theta? Let me ask you, would you buy Theta at $8.60? Well, that's like buying Doge at 32 cents, right? Because if you notice, this is where Doge is at, right here, right in the middle of the retracement level. That's what makes it dangerous to buy it right now, because there's no entry. Yes, it can just blast off and see you later. And, maybe it will do that. But we have to be smart here with our money. We can't let, because during this time, emotions run wild. Because just think about it. 2 weeks ago, everybody was bearish and like, it's never going to happen. And now fast forward today, everyone's already talking about, Lambos, right? I mean, that's how fast it turns. But you have to have your emotions in check. And that's one of the benefits, I think, of my channel, is that I have it straight down the middle. And I definitely am very conservative when it comes to these things. But I would love nothing more than to see Theta get back to $8.60. And I'm here to tell you that it's going to happen sooner rather than later. So if we take a look here, right, and we put on, for example, let's put on Ethereum, right, and then we can sort of look at the difference with it. And so for Ethereum, back in the day, right, versus what we have here, and I would actually like to compare that to Doge as well, right? Because it's all about learning how these things take off, how they crash, how they consolidate, because that everything is in the chart, and that's what we need to read, right? So for me, I'm looking at, Theta being right around here, and not just Theta, but all the other ones as well that are primarily here. So if we're about right in here, then we still technically have all of this to go, right? All of this to go, which is a good thing. But again, when you talk about Dogecoin's already like right here. So it only has this much to go, right? So what would you rather have? Something that's this much or something that's this much? You know what I mean? Because it's all about percentages. And I could be totally wrong. Dogecoin can go to $152 and you can be a multi-millionaire if you buy it right now. Totally. But is that likely? I don't think so. I think the best bet is to buy things that are still in their base. And you can say, well, that's a sign of weakness. Well, no, it's just not moving. It's not a first mover, and that's okay. Because we can look at what Theta did back in the day. Theta went from 3 pennies all the way up to $17. That is a 46,000% move. I don't know what Dogecoin is exactly. Let's see what Doge was real quick. So Dogecoin, let's see, was it 46,000? I'm going to start it where the C19 is and go all the way up. It's about 68,000. Whoa. Okay, so 60,000%. 60,000%. Beautiful. And Theta, let me just make sure I got it right, 43,000%. So, Dogecoin did have a massive run here. So, what am I trying to say? That is a really good thing when you look at it, because if you have, for example, an explosive wave to the upside, and then you have a shallow drawdown, like Doge had a shallow drawdown, Theta had a kind of a steeper drawdown. Those are often ones that can perform better in the short run, but because think about it, Theta has more resistance levels it needs to get through in a shorter amount of time because of how tight it is. I mean, that's a base right there. Doge's building that base. So anyways, let me go back to Ethereum. And you can see very clearly that we are creating a beautiful W pattern. A beautiful W pattern. Right? So that's why. You know what I mean? I think it's only a matter of time before we get back to the retracement levels. I mean, things can move very fast. We're already seeing things move incredibly fast. So, as far as Theta bumping out of here, let's look at the daily. So, I mean, we just basically went straight up, right? And we're sort of right at the top of the range in here, right at the bottom of the range. So you really want to kind of flag out a little bit and then break out. And that's what I'm expecting. That's what I'm thinking, right? So not really much has changed too much since yesterday, but except it doesn't really look finished to me. I mean, you kind of got a little wave, you flagged out a little bit, and you pushed up. When we, how you go sideways in here. I mean, sideways isn't such a bad thing, especially Monday, right? You kind of don't want to get ahead of yourself because you still have Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, right? Especially Wednesday through Friday. Those are the days you really want to have a better performance because that means you have a stronger weekly close. If you pump too hard, too fast, too soon, too early in the week, then you risk having a big dump at the end of the week, right? Which would mean you have a nasty weekly wick on top of your weekly candle, which you don't want. So anyways, everything is happening exactly as we talked about, right? Whether it be 3 up, 3 down, and then when we were down here, I said we're going to get 5 up, and we did. Right? Another thing too is when you look at it from a Wyckoff perspective, move your way up, move your way down, liquidity grab, and then you instantly move back up, you play around a little bit, and then you shoot to the upside. So I still feel like this is very early for Theta, right? So yeah, let's go. Let's keep moving it. So my next target would be $1.90. That doesn't mean it's going to happen today or tomorrow, but I think very soon, I think we should see $1.90 to $2. So, all right, let's move on. Axelar. Axelar does have that revving up sort of motion too. Boom, boom. It's kind of like it's revving it's getting that gas to the carburetor really quick. So, I mean, terrible. But if we can get up here, then for me, the job's basically halfway there, half done. Because from there, we got to get through the retracement levels. So if you look at where we are, right, the target is $1.53 to $1.80. So we're still quite a ways away. Let's see what the market cap is on Axelar. The smaller the market cap, the better. Oh yeah, that's great. Look at that. That's right where you want it, because then that means you can get to a couple billion pretty soon. So the reason I like Axelar is because Paul Barron, a tremendous crypto researcher, probably one of the best researchers. He did the work for me in a way, and he said, this is one of my gems. So I thought, hey, this guy's, I'm not going to question his judgment at all. So I looked into it. I did a little bit of a background check, because you should always do your own research. And what I found was interesting, because I think Axelar can be definitely in the top 20 in the not too distant future, or even in the maybe even the top 10. I maybe I wouldn't go that far, but so basically it's for Web3 interoperability, right? You just type in what is Axelar, and it'll tell you everything. And you can type in a lot of cryptos, and a lot of them will say things that sound fancy and they sound cool and they sound like, oh, it can be worth something. But the real way which ones are, the pretenders are the developers, right? So if you look at the developers, you can see, who's developing, look at their social media, look at their LinkedIn, right? There's a lot of stuff. And then look at the roadmap. And then obviously the tokenomics, right? So all of those things check out. And then you have Paul Barron on top of it. But putting all that stuff aside, who gives a rat's you know what? At the end of the day, it's all about the chart. And the chart for me is I like the slow grind drawdown, right? The coin opened up, you have the drawdown, you build the base, and bam, you have a 5-wave move to the upside. And this was during the Bitcoin run up, by the way. So this just happened, last year, or just about, right? And so you have a wave 1, and you come down, you build a base, you have a 1 2 1 2, right? You're building your base. So eventually this thing's going to go into its 3rd wave, and I think it's going to be massive. So we'll see how it plays out. Again, it's only a $600 million market cap. And again, when you look at Dogecoin's way up here. So if you're holding Axelar, you're thinking, oh man, I picked the wrong coin. No, you just got to wait. You got to be patient. Okay, let's look at Bohm. Here's another one that I really like, just because of the way it looks. You could say that looks like trash. It hasn't done anything. Well, that's good. That's what you want. You don't want it to do something, because then, you want to buy stuff before they do something. That's the whole idea, right? You don't want to chase, right? So I'm looking at this as bullish downward consolidation, right? Sort of like a bullish channel. And then we break out, and then you have a 3-wave move to the downside. You back test it, right? And now it's all about catching bids, because this is the time where you catch bids and you can get really extended. And a lot of times, for example, like the OG will buy Doge early on, and then it'll get back to the all-time high or even higher. And then what they'll do is they'll rotate it into coins that haven't yet moved yet, right? And that's how you make a lot of money, because then you're really participating in multiple bull runs, right? So you ride the Dogecoin wave down here, but you would have had to known beforehand. It's too late now, right? And then once you get up here, you've already made a lot of money. Then you sell it all and you rotate it into a coin that hasn't yet moved yet, right? So it's all about, again, percentages. And I think Bohm, I have no idea about this crypto. I don't know the community behind it. All I'm doing is basing it on the chart. The market cap is good. And look at this. Boom, boom, boom. We're revving up in here, right? So I think this thing has a good chance at getting back up to about 2 pennies, and even 3 pennies very soon. So let's see what this is. You can see we have about, it's actually a bigger market cap than I thought. Okay, so 645 million. You're not even in the top 100, right? And what I like is the circulating supply is, that amount, but the total supply is that amount too. So you can't have any more. So it's not like you're going to have inflation. That's another thing, right? Because, for example, when you're buying a coin, you want to look at the circulating supply and the total supply. If, for example, the total supply was 500 billion, but the circulating supply was only 50 billion, then you know there's a lot of coins sitting on the sideline that hasn't entered the market yet. So that's scary. But in this case, I did my homework and I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, okay, there's no inflation at all, ever. So, the max supply hasn't been really disclosed, but usually it is the total supply. I mean, that's the total of what you're going to get, right? So if I'm a meme coin creator, I don't want to create a coin knowing that there's going to be inflation later on. I want my community to know that, maybe we burn some coins, right? So anyway, that's a crypto there. I think it's called the Book of Memes or something like that. And yeah, so let's do a little bit of analysis here. So obviously we have a beautiful three-way pullback: A, B, or W, X, and then Y, right? And now we have a sort of this impulse to the way up. We're sort of consolidating right in the retracement level. So it's going to take some time. You don't want it to, you could slice right through it, but obviously, it takes some time. You want some bids to catch up, accumulation, and then you pop, right? So if you just look at this, you kind of have a shoulder in here and a head and a shoulder, right? So if you take a measurement, I mean, that's going to put you at, about 0.012. And right now we're at 0.009. So I think this one's going to be a winner. I just have a feeling. I could be wrong. This is not financial advice. This could go to zero. You guys got to understand. This could go to zero fast, like just dead. So, it's all about risk. But for me, I'm looking at what it's doing in here, right? You can see a shoulder, you can see a head, you can see a shoulder, right? You see 3 down, right? Or actually, yeah, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That's a three-way move there, right? So you have an impulse, and let me do it one more time. You have an impulse, and you have a three-way pullback, and then you have this 1, 2, 1, 2, and you're revving up in here. You break out, you back test, and now you're right at the. I mean, this thing's set. This thing is cocked and loaded, right? This thing is like a loaded gun, ready to fire. So we just have to wait. It might take a couple weeks. I don't know. I mean, we'll just have to see. Let's keep looking here. ICP had a very shallow drawdown. I'm just, I'm not really feeling it right now. I just, it kind of looks like a triangle to me. And when you go down into a triangle, you usually break down before going up. So that's why I'm like, I don't know. And here's another thing we have to be very cautious about. When there's too much bullishness, then a lot of times you get liquidity grabs, right? You get a long squeeze. So if you look at Bitcoin, for example, Bitcoin's way up here. What if Bitcoin came all the way back down and it back tested like 75K? What do you think is going to happen to the altcoins, right? If the altcoins only went up that amount, they could during this big correction, if we got it with Bitcoin, we could actually come and take out the low and then go, right? That's how fast these things move. They move very, very fast. So that's all I'm saying. You got to be careful with that, right? So, if you look at, for example, SUI, why would you buy it? I mean, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It looks like it's finished. That was another winner that we forgot to mention. So, like for example, Matic. If Bitcoin decided to pull back to 75K, you could see a big fat move back to the downside. You have a low, have a higher low, and then start to move up. So we could see some bearishness coming soon. Especially when you go straight up like that. It really depends on the momentum, right? So let's take a look here. AVAX. This is another one that was pretty good. It had that sort of revving up motion in here. So you're right at resistance. Now, again, if Bitcoin decides to have a big dump, right? Maybe a flash crash down to 75K, you could see a 618 retrace in AVAX. You know, getting, you know, it's at $34. You could see it, you know, coming back down. For example, you just take a retracement from here up to here, and this thing can literally go back down to the 618. So that's a big drop. So if you look, so if people are leveraged up and you go down, you might have a 20% dump. You know what I mean? So 20% on a leveraged trade, that means you're liquidated. That's what that means. So that's why I'm saying you got to be, you know, when there's so much bullishness in the air, got to be a little bit skeptical. But I think it's quiet bullishness. I don't think it's totally like bonkers yet. Because if you look at like the Google search, you look at some of the other sentiment, I mean, you know, it is very bullish right now, but it's kind of like, it's kind of creeping. It's kind of a creeper. So, so in other words, we haven't seen nothing yet. But anyways, let's keep moving here. So let's go to Theta. This is another one that I was looking at that I think has a lot of potential, right? Again, Dogecoin is way up here. Why would I want to buy that? I would rather buy something down here that's consolidating in its base, right? It might take longer, but at least I know that I'm planted, and at least I know I'm ready to roll when this thing goes, right? So if we look at it in here, we're sort of coiling up in here. So we pump up, right? Look at that. Boom, 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 boom. So I want to see this thing break out. The reason why is because of the shape of it. For example, if you look at, you know, VeChain had that same kind of thing. You pump up, right? And then you just boom, 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 and then you break out. So that's what I'm saying. Like, should I sell my Theta and go chase VeChain? Or should I just stay planted knowing that there's a good possibility that it could break out sooner rather than later, right? So Filecoin, yeah, same thing with, you know, Filecoin. It's still in its base down in here. Still in its base, hasn't had a retrace yet, right? So VeChain, same thing with VeChain. You know, it hasn't really had it kind of has like a falling wedge a little bit, but it hasn't had a retrace. So I'm still expecting a lot of coins to have a retrace. Casper was a disaster. That was the worst. I mean, look at that. The thing is just garbage, trash. And I bought some up here, and that was stupid. You know, I didn't think it was going to do that. I mean, come on. That's just pathetic. So I don't know what went on with that. But look at ADA. This is a very good example here. So if we pull up ADA, right, and then let's put on like Theta. Okay, look at this. So you can see, you look at the difference, guys. Yeah, so same thing. Look at the difference. They both have a base, but one broken out and one hasn't. So for me, if I had bought an ADA, in which I didn't, I should have, but I didn't. If I had it, I got a little bit of my hodl position, but it's not really much. But if I had it on like a trade, what I would do is I would sell it right here at the retracement level. And then I would put the profits into something that has not yet broken out with the expectation of it to break out as well. And then once we get back up here, maybe you have to reevaluate to see where ADA is at the time, but then you can take these profits and then rotate it back into ADA before it has its next leg higher. You see what I mean? So it's all about that rotation. But let's put on... Here we go. Here's a really good example. Look at this. It's identical, guys. Look at this. It's literally identical. Look at that. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. Right? And then you have, you know, spike, spike, blast. Spike, spike. I mean, you're literally right there. This thing could break out at any moment. So that's what I'm saying. Like, again, if you're holding Filecoin and you're looking at ADA explode and you're thinking about selling it to go chase ADA, I'm just saying maybe think about it, you know, maybe think about it. Maybe it's a good decision. Maybe it's not. I don't know. That's up for you to decide. But for me, I look at things from a risk perspective, from a percentage perspective, from a potential perspective, right? And this one doesn't have much room to go. If it decided to crash, this one has a long way to go down. If this one decided to crash, it's only got a little bit tiny of a way to go down. So the downside risk is very small. And the upside risk is massive. So again, look at that for a minute, you know? So anyways, that's my main message for today is just be careful. I don't want my listeners to get, you know, chasing things and then end up regretting it later on, because what happens is, you know, this moves and then people sell it and then they chase it, right? They chase their coin and they buy it. And then what happens is this one starts to move and this one starts to pull back a little bit. And then what they do is they sell this to go then chase this. And then once that's done, this starts moving out, and then they sell that to go chase that again. And then they just lose. Just stay planted, right? Just, you know, do you think Warren Buffett's looking at his account going, oh my God, Filecoin, it's not moving, so I'm going to sell it and go chase ADA? Oh, I don't think so. I don't even think he knows what Filecoin is. And then look at this. When we zoom out, they both have the same setup. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. I mean, it looks beautiful. I said yesterday that I took some profit on Filecoin. You go, why? Well, because I'm scalping. It's, you know, I'm scalp trading here. So, you know, I looked at this, right? We moved up, and then we moved up in here, and I sold it right at the retracement. Right here. So look, we have a big knockdown. This could, like I said yesterday, number one, it could come up and creep and break. Fine. Or it can, you know, have an A, B, and then a C, right? And now it's sort of consolidating in here. So I haven't decided when I'm going to get back in completely yet. So I'm still thinking about it, because I haven't, you know, we have an ABC, but I don't really see anything quite yet. And so I have time. I mean, it's the 20-minute chart, so, you know, it moves fast. So, but I'm still above where I sold it. So I'm just kind of waiting and seeing, because I want to get back in, because again, eventually this thing, in my opinion, is going to do very well. Versus, you know, when you look at, let's put up Filecoin on the same time frames. Oh, okay, this is the futures. So that is, yeah, that's at the top. Okay, so at least I have the top. So from here all the way back to the top, that's 2,500%. Let's say, 2,600%. Okay. So if I do the same thing with Filecoin, or ADA, my bad, and we go all the way up, let me try to get it as best as I can, ballpark here. And then I go all the way up. That's only 430%. Versus 2,600, 2,700%. You see what I mean? I'm not saying Filecoin's going to go all the way back to the top. I mean, it could, and I think it's got good utility. But what I am saying is just look at the percentages, right? So that's the main takeaway. So let's look at Near. Near did pretty good. I'm definitely holding on to this one. Let's take a look at it. And you can say, well, why would you buy this one? Because it's not down here like the other coins, right? It's sort of at the halfway point. Well, the reason why is because I liked it, and I like you have a big impulse and you're flagging out, right? So I don't want to buy all the same coins with the similar charts. I want to buy things that have different looks. Like, for example, XRP has a completely different look than all the other charts, right? And Near has a little bit of a different look than, for example, Filecoin, right? Completely different. So I like to diversify myself through categories like memes, DeFi, things like that, and also by the look of the chart, right? So we had a nice move. Let me zoom in, see what's going on here. Yeah, so look at this beautiful move here. So we move up, right? And we perfectly nailed this. Boom, 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 boom. I said there's a good chance you're going to come up here. So it looks like, taking profits wouldn't be such a bad thing, right? So I might take some profits on it. But man, I got such a good entry. I kind of just want to hold it, but then I know I'll regret it later. But then again, my entry is very good. So I'm just kind of waiting to see, because a lot of times, you take profit believing you're going to get a pullback, but sometimes what happens is you do get a pullback, but you just kind of go sideways a little bit and then break out, just like how you did it here, right? So if we're going to go sideways anyway, then I'm not really going to get a discount on my price. So that's what I'm waiting for. I want to see some wave structure before I make any decisions, because this is a beautiful A or W, X, and then you have a Y, and then you have a 1 2 1 2, or you have an A, and then you have a B, and then maybe you're getting a C, right? And then you flag out 1 2 1 2 3, get back up here, and then boom, 5. So that one looks really good. XLM. Yeah, we'll talk about that one another day. IMX. IMX is another one. Remember, they got hit with a Wells notice, so you got to be careful with this one. I did buy the low here. I nailed the low. So I'm at 155% profit. My entry was 104. So let's see. Here's IMX, and where's 104 at? I mean, man, I a little bit was luck, but I saw the divergence, and I came out and I made a video about it. I said, look at this, guys. Look how massively strong that looks. Look at that. Yeah, because we got a Wells notice, nobody wanted to touch it. But look, you had this huge, massive divergence. Massive. So I thought, you know what? It's got to at least make a retracement. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to buy some. It's still very much down in the gutter, right? I mean, you still have a long way to go if you're going to make any effort, but since my entry is so good, I'm probably just going to hold it there, and then worst case scenario, I'll just break even, no problem. Because I feel like 1, 2, right? We have another 1, 2. You have 3 up, you have 3 down. I want to see at least a retracement up to the top here. And then I can decide, and then I can pull some profits. But yeah, that's an interesting chart here for sure. So let's see, anything else? Talked about XRP. XRP's back at 60 cents. I want to look at the small time frames on XRP. Oh, hello. Well, good morning to you, sir. Or good afternoon. How are you? Look at that. Came up a little bit. You're challenging these highs in here. It looks good. I think XRP is still cheap, right? If there's any coin out there that I can recommend, I can't give financial advice. I can't recommend anything. But if there was one I could recommend to myself, it would be XRP. It's going to be painful. It might take a lot of time, but I know it's going to be so worth it. And trust me when I tell you, this thing is unlike any other chart on the planet. It is so incredibly bullish. You don't even understand. Like, and when you look at it, you go, how is it bullish? It looks terrible. Well, no, sideways is good. Sideways, sideways, sideways. Look, I'll give you an example. Look how long we went sideways in here for. Sideways, sideways, sideways. And what sideways means is you're building, when you build a skyscraper in New York, you got to have a strong foundation, right? So that when you start building the skyscraper, you have strong support. So the more sideways you can go, the bigger the base, the higher in space, right? As they say, you know what I mean? So, and then also when you look at it, rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, sideways, breakout, rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, sideways. You're waiting for that breakout. It hasn't happened yet. So, and by the way, we're going sideways in the sideways base, right? Look at this. All of this is sideways, but then also all of this is sideways. All of this is sideways. And you're just like, well, when's it going to wake up? When's it going to move? When is it going to go? That's the thing. I feel like it's coming very soon, but you don't want to miss it, is what I'm saying. Because when it happens so fast that, by the time you blink, it's done. But look at this. When we broke out that first time, look at the wick. We wicked all the way back down into the bottom before continuing higher. It took out all those people's stop losses, right? So if you have a trailing stop loss in a bull run, a lot of times you get punished. So I kind of tend not to do that unless I'm in consolidation. So, I mean, it depends on the circumstance. But let me just take everything off the screen here. My number one holding is XRP, simply because of where it's at, the potential it has, the beautiful W shape. Maybe it doesn't perform as well as some of the smaller cap, but to me, it has less risk than the smaller cap, right? Because if you buy something with only $1 billion market cap, you can have a tremendous upside. Well, XRP has 30 billion market cap, so it's going to take a lot of money to get the price rolling. But I'm okay with that because I see the structure of the chart. That's why it's taking a long time as well. Again, Amazon took 10 years before it broken out. But look at this. Look at this beautiful flag in here. I mean, this is an A, B, C. You have a 1, and now you're flagging out for a 2. I'm calling it. I'm saying this is going to break. It might even break out today. I mean, look at this, 61 cents. I'm so bullish on XRP. If there's anything I can recommend to myself, it would be buy XRP. So if I had ADA and I just made that big move, I would sell it, some of it, and buy ADA, right? Telling myself that, not you. I'm not telling you that. I'm telling myself that. Because this thing is just, I mean, look at it. Oh, man, it's so bullish. And another reason why it's so bullish is because think about how much ammunition it has. XRP is the only one with legal clarity. XRP is the only altcoin aside from Ethereum that has an XRP ETF, right? Remember that. And then also the Grayscale Trust, right? And then also we have the Ripple IPO. We have Trump becoming president. We have Gary Gensler getting fired. We have regulations coming down the pike. We have a Republican House, a Republican Senate. We have, I mean, everything is like too good to be true. It feels like I woke up in Alice in Wonderland and I'm thinking like, what just happened? You know, everything looks so grim and nasty, and then all of a sudden, boom, it changes very fast. So this thing looks like it's ready to roll, guys. Look at this. On the 8-day chart, well, maybe that's a bad example. Let's go to the 4-hour. Oh, here we go. XRP's breaking out now. It just made a new high. Look at that right there. Just made a new high. So look at this. All of this resistance in here. I'm letting you guys know, once we break that resistance, it's going to fly like never before. And it's going to be very interesting. Because again, all we can do is look at the wave structure. And there's no clear wave structure. You know, I mean, there is. But for XRP, it's very clear to me. You know, the average person will look at this and go, what the hell is that? Well, again, this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a wave 1. And then this is a 3-wave pullback. And then we have another 3-wave. And then we have another 3-wave. Right? So you can say a WXY, WXY, or ABC, and that's your wave 2. And this, my friends, now we're going up into wave 3. And wave 3 is the biggest wave, if not wave 5. Sometimes wave 5 is bigger. A lot of times wave 5 is bigger. But wave 3 is very big. So that's one way you can look at it, incredibly bullishly. Now, there's another way you can look at it too that I haven't really talked about. And this is even more bullish, which is what? You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's your 1. You pull back, there's a 2. And then you go all the way up, there's a 1, right? And then we have an W, X, Y for a 2. And this count I like way better because of the proportionality. So it is, in my opinion, that XRP has a 1, 2, 1, 2, which is the most bullish setup you can possibly have, right? So now I see a 1, 2, and then I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? This could be, you know, in that third wave in here, and then we flag out for a 4 and then get wave 5. So, man, this is very exciting. Nobody deserves it more than the XRP community. And then another thing too, you know, you just put this line here, and you can see we've already broken out of it, guys. Look at that. And you could say, well, wait a minute. We broken out before over here. And yes, that is true. But in order to, I could actually do this, but I don't like that. You know why? Because I only have 2 touch points. That's it. You don't want to. You want as many as you can. So look at this. Now I have 1, 2. I have 3, 4, 5, and 6. An overthrow, right? So I have a lot more confluence with the way I've drawn it there, right? So this is the wake-up line for this move, right? And then you still have, like if I go to a higher time frame, you know, you still have this downward resistance line, which is even more significant, right? And I like to look at this one sort of on the, maybe like the 3-month chart. Let's see what the 3-month chart looks like. You know, technically we've already broken out of it. But if you just go wick to wick to wick, look at this. Look at that, man. That's insane. You know, you got your cup and you got your handle, right? And this took 7 years. You don't understand. This is 7 years. There's no crypto on the planet that has a 7-year base, a 7 years corrective structure, because all the other coins blasted off in the last bull run. I think Ripple strategically wanted it to be this way simply because they can have one of the bigger bases, which means there's more support moving forward. So when XRP goes into its bear market, you know, you got to always think ahead, 5-10 steps. When XRP goes into its bear market, it's going to have, right? Let's say you have all of this, right? You break out, right, into a bull market. Well, guess what? If you go into a bear market, which you are, you're going to have so much support here. It's going to be, it's going to offer a better foundation to build upon, is what I'm saying. So, yeah, but look at this chart here. This is this is the quarterly candle. It's like a dragonfly doji, right? So I feel like this candle is going to break out, and we're probably going to between $1 and $1.30, and then eventually $2 and beyond that. So, anyways, guys, do what you need to do. But for me, I think XRP is going to be one of the bigger winners. And who knows? Maybe it's a loser, right? Maybe it's a big loser. Maybe the SEC, goes with the appeal, and maybe the new SEC commissioner doesn't drop the appeal. I mean, things can happen, right? So we just don't really know. But I think something sneaky is going on behind the scenes. And there's a guy on YouTube named Zach Rector. He put a video out right here, and it's called Ripple XRP National Security Operation. It's obviously a theory. It's a theory of his, but it's really thought out very nicely. And I have to agree with him in a lot of things he says. So it's a 19-minute video. Go watch it. Basically, he's saying that, this is all part of the plan, right? Because remember, Ripple met with Trump in this summer, right? And that's exactly the time Trump turned bullish on crypto, is when they met with Ripple in San Francisco. So what did they talk about, right? I'm sure they talked about a lot of stuff, and they heard their story, and they told them things, right? So I think it's going to be interesting because we don't really know what Ripple is doing on behind the scenes. A lot of times when they interview Brad Garlinghouse, he says that there's things that he cannot disclose yet, right? Because you can't really disclose a partnership until all the fine details are worked out, or until certain things you're waiting for. So, because all it's going to take is Ripple comes out and, they shake hands with Visa or MasterCard or some big bank, right? I mean, they've already got tons of partnerships, but I think there's something big that's coming behind the scenes. Because remember, Ripple was sued, and they did the appeal, but there's no appeal on XRP is not a security. So that will stand no matter what happens, which is what investors, institutions, banks, that's what they want, right? So I think that'll do it. Look at this, 61 cents. I think I started the video, it was at 59 cents. Man, I should have bought more, huh? Look at that, a big fat candle. Pumps up back to the high. Yeah, I think this thing is getting started. I don't think it's finished yet. I think it's got a little bit more to go. I think it's got a little bit of correcting, and then eventually we're going to get that big breakout. So that'll do it. Let's look at Bitcoin one more time. Let's see where it's at. It's at 87,000. Oh my God. It actually hit 87.4. Whoa. Okay, yeah, this is getting serious now. Now we're in a full-blown breakout, right? And we nailed the call, right? Because again, this was what? A 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and now we're in the third. Remember what I said? The wave coming up is going to be the third of the third, and it looks exactly like the third of the third. So the third of the third is the equivalent of XRP being right. Let's see. So you have 1, 2, and then 3. All of this wave right here. So that's the third of the third wave, right? So, and then you have wave 4, and then you get wave 5. So if we just take a bars pattern, and we'll put it from here, right? And then we'll just slide it on up to right about there. That's kind of where we're at. And where is this heading? I mean, the fractal says 160. I don't think we're going to get to 160, maybe 125. That's kind of where I'm thinking. But $100,000, You know, that's probably going to be a big level, because think about it. All the people who bought Bitcoin, for example, back way over here, back in 2015, what are they waiting for? They're waiting for $100,000 Bitcoin. So you got to think all of these guys and all of these guys, they're all going to probably sell once we hit that round number of 100K, right? So we got to be careful with that. But ultimately, once this goes into distribution, I think that's when we're going to get some crazy alt moves. So, but yeah, that'll do it for this video. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. I got to go down to pick up my son. I think he's with his mom at Chuck E. Cheese, hanging out, having some fun. So anyways, I will catch you guys on the next one. Cheers.